I'm Laurent. I'm a postdoc at the Law Lab at Stanford University. I'm based at Hopkins Marine Station, which is a marine station where we do mostly marine biology. And my interest is about evo-devo, which is a field of biology which tries to understand um, how does the diversity of animal body plans that we see around us evolve. If you look at a fruit fly or a snail or a dog or a human being, all these animals have something in common, which is a bilateral symmetry. And so the main feature of the bilateral symmetry is that the bodies of all these animals is organized around a main axis, which we call the anteroposterior axis. And it's basically the axis that runs from your head to your feet. And so your body is organized into different regions along this axis. If you were to look at an animal that is like a starfish, which is it doesn't have a bilateral symmetry, it is pentaradial, as we say. But we know that sea stars have evolved from bilateral ancestors, so somehow they lost their bilateral symmetry. We can ask, okay, is there something that corresponds to the head or to the trunk in the body of a sea star? Of course, when you just look at a sea star, there is nothing that looks like a head in here. So the way we did, and that's why also these animals have been so confusing for zoologists, because there is nothing that you can compare in a sea star with other animals, basically. They are just looking completely different, even though they are closely related to them, evolutionarily speaking. And so the answer, the way that we use to answer this question is to go back to developmental mechanisms that I was mentioning at the beginning. And so we know that in pretty much every animal, the head and the trunk of the body are built during the development of the animals using the same genetic mechanisms. So you have a group of architect genes that are conserved between animals ranging from humans to fruit flies to mollusks. And these architect genes, some of them are involved in building the head of the animal, and some of them are involved in building like the trunk of the animals. And so what we did was to look for what are these genes doing during the development of a sea star. And we found that basically the genes, the genes that are involved in making the most anterior part of the head are located along the midline of the arm in the sea star, and we couldn't find traces of genes that are involved in making the trunk. So basically, what sea star have is only head territories. So no, we don't. It's actually kind of a mystery, and it's really not straightforward because if you look at the evolution of animals in general, like the invention of bilateral symmetry with a head and a trunk was arguably the most successful evolution of the entire animal evolution. And it's probably what was the cause of what we call the Cambrian explosion, where we had that enormous diversification of animal body plans that happened in the Cambrian, so about 540 million years ago. So we have no idea how the fact that echinoderms then lost their trunk was actually an advantage for anything. I think my initial interest was a fascination for the fact that every animals develop from a single cell, which is an egg, which often is like just a spherical cell. And it went into a fascinating and complicated process of development during which this cell will like divide and eventually form a complete mature organism that is like organized in 3 dimensions with like different organs and everything. And the complexity and the perfection of this process is kind of fascinating to me.